Take two. I already recorded the entire video and almost finished the video, and I did not feel it was good enough. So this is take two. I didn't write a script, so I'm just going to give you a brief outline of what I want to talk about today. Men are not working. Are they not working, or is that just what the official documents say? They're making policy based on men not working and cutting benefits in light of men not working. And because women are working more than men, it's impacting dating and marriage. And so a lot of policies are coming out blaming men for not working and doubling down with women complaining about not finding a suitable man. And then the real story, because that's what Shakaama is all about. What's the real truth behind everything? Number one, men are not working. This is the latest thing, April, May. Actually, it's April. The, official stances with verification happens in each quarter. So they did the quarter ending in April and said, men are not working. Is it true? According to their statistics, men are not working. It's true. Men of working age, 18 to 54, work far less than women 18 to 54. Then they did a comparison by percentage, 18 to 54. In 1960, 3 times as much men worked as today. I want you to use your lizard brain and kind of think about that for a second. How can 3 times as many men work in 1960 when the population wasn't even as big as it is now, than today, 2025? What could possibly be the reason why 3 times as many men worked in 1960? You're going to have some uncomfortable truths come to mind if you actually think about it correctly. How are men, white and black, I'm giving you a hint, 3 times as many? For black men, it was something like 10 times. 10 times as many black men worked in 1960 than today. 10 times. And then I said, what? Women are something like 40% more employed than men, working age. Why are women 40% more employed? I want you to think back. No, I'm not going to give you answers now, but we're going to stick a pin in that. Why would women be 40% more employed than men, black women and white women? I'm giving you hints. And then I said, they're changing policy based on men not working, a policy for benefits. So they're doing stuff like looking at canceling Medicaid. Medicaid, for the most part, covers disabled people and seniors, mostly, because you qualify if you don't have a certain quote-unquote income, right? But they're talking about canceling Medicaid with the reasoning being men are not working, so we should be able to cancel Medicaid since they refuse to work, because that's the thought process. Men are not working, men refuse to work. So they jumped from men are not working to men refuse to work. They even say stuff like men are living in their mom's basement. Their mom's basement. How many basements do moms own? And how widespread is it? And what's the reason for a woman owning a basement? A house with a basement? These are questions that you need to ask the politicians. If it's true that men are living in mom's basement, why does a woman have a house and why is the son living in the basement? They don't want to answer that. They don't want you to even ask that. I bet you YouTube doesn't want me to even say that. But they want to change policy based on their own reasoning that not men are not working. Men are refusing to work. So let's change the whole video. Men are refusing to work, right? I'm kind of showing my hand early, and that's that they're changing policy based on men refusing to work. Then we go back to women. Women are complaining they don't have suitable men to date and marry. But Shakaama is going to give you the proper question to ask there. The entire notion of a woman dating somebody or marrying somebody is controlled by who? The woman or the man? I'm just asking questions. I'm telling you that you need to ask questions. It's a man, right? So it's the man not asking the woman to date him. It's a man not asking the woman to marry him. Has nothing to do with the woman at all. Women have no control over that. Do you think women are upset that they don't have control over that? Have you seen the videos of the woman getting on a knee and asking a man to marry her? The optics of that, optics meaning the visual, the optics of that alone makes it look like the woman is a man. That's how it looks, right? And you have so many women telling women, a man won't come up and talk to you, then you need to go talk to the man. That is the masculinization of women. You don't approach men. You don't ask the man to date you. You don't ask the man to marry you. You're taking on the role of the man, right? I'm getting ahead of myself, but okay, there you go. Because the women are complaining that men are not suitable to be dated because they don't make the same money that they do, you also then get into the details of that and say, okay, so what's suitable? What's a suitable man to date you? And then they say, he must be, when you boil it down, he must be 50% more successful in all aspects of life than me. And then you get, so the man you're looking for is going to be a traditional man? Yes. Are you a traditional woman? No. So then maybe, I'm getting ahead of myself, maybe you're complaining about something and not looking in the mirror to see that you're the cause of men not dating you or not marrying you. You yourself. Not the men refusing to work, right? Then we're talking about they're going to double down on changing policy because of women's complaints. So they're going to eradicate Medicaid because women are complaining that there's not a suitable man because men are refusing to work. Then we start looking at, are men not working? And here's where I have revealed everything to you. What is work? Are men refusing to work? Are men not being hired? I made a video several years ago right here on YouTube called The Vanishing Man or the Disappearing Man, something like that. You can look it up. It would be much better for you to look it up and click on it and watch it than for me to link it to you. Because the process of you searching and then clicking on it tells the algorithm that that video is about that topic that you searched. If you could do that, and I go over numbers and stuff like that in that video completely. I'm very tired. Anyway, I'm having a lot of health issues. I don't need to go into detail. But something like 80 million men? 80 million? Something crazy. 80 million. It's now 80. It was, I believe, 70 back during that video. And then I said, they're not working. It's not that men are not working. It's that they define work as something very specific. Because then when you get to the part about the men are living in their mom's basement, how the men not are paying for food, clothing, upkeep. Where are they getting that money from? Their mom? No, they're not. Because women aren't built like that. Not the single mom. We're talking about single mothers who have a house by themselves. And apparently the house is so big that it has a basement to it, right? You're showing your hand by saying with your insults. So the woman has a house that is so big that it has a basement to it. At a minimum, 3 bedrooms. At a minimum. Why does she have 3 bedrooms if she only has 1 or 2 kids? And one of them is old enough to be in the labor force. For the most part, when you look at actual data for WIC and welfare, women have 1 or 2 kids. I know about black women, so it's 1 or 2 kids. It's not the 7 kids that they keep showing, or the 12 kids or something like that. If you see that, if you ever see a report like that, remember these words. 90% of women on welfare or WIC and all that sort of stuff have one, maybe two. For whatever reason, they don't want to tell us what percentage is. It's just one. But I know that black women only, for the most part, something like 90% only have one or two children. Versus the white women have several. For whatever reason, they outperform everybody on the welfare rolls, right? But they always want to show you a black woman with a whole bunch of kids. I know this because my aunt used to work for the welfare division in our state, and she was high up, and she said that's how it is. So the white women have several children, and black women have one or two. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just telling you the numbers, right? They don't define work as what you would consider work. No side gigs. No side gigs in fact, no handyman businesses. If you don't get your paycheck signed and delivered by the payroll account, you don't work. Kind of shocking, isn't it? So the banks are saying 80 million men don't work. The banks are saying this. So men refusing to work, that seems kind of strange, huh? That calls all of that into question. Then we go back to the women are 40% more employed than men. And it's true on paper. If you're going by their definition of work, 40% of more women work than men. If you're going by the definition of what the word work means. Yes, women do not have side gigs at all. I know you see female Uber drivers, but I think it's something like 1%. And absolutely, they do not have like handyman type of businesses. Why? Because you have TikTokers come to tell you, we had a woman come over, show up, because they called the number and said, hey, our plumbing is burst. And then the person came over and didn't know what to do. We needed a painting hung in our foyer, and a woman showed up and she didn't know what to do. No joke. It's not a scripted video. It's an actual real case. So then they had to call somebody else and make absolutely sure a man was going to show up, right? So I cannot imagine that these women who were trying to do these side gigs are actually successful and still in business. Because how do you do that and continue to get hired? How do you get work after that? I'm sure you all seen the video of the 10 women gossiping and supposedly renovating a house, cutting drywall and all that sort of stuff. And then all of the men in the comments are saying they have absolutely no idea what they're doing. They're doing all of that completely wrong. There's literally gaps in the wall, holes through the wall when they're hanging drywall. Are women 40% more employed? No. But women are targeted more to be employed by employers than men. Why? Because they get a kickback. They also get a kickback from disabled people in wheelchairs to hire them. They also get a kickback for convicts. So if you hire a woman, a disabled person, a minority, which is a black woman, or a Latino woman, or a convict, which is a black woman, or a white woman, you get a kickback from the government. You have incentive to hire women. Women under 35 years old make more money than men under 35 years old. Not only that, women are paid more. Huge news. Google, Facebook, Meta, BBC, actual government agencies all did a survey of how much the people make in their organization, and they found that they were paying women more for the same exact job, which is illegal. So they had to issue men compensation for that, and the women went crazy and says, if you're going to be giving money to men, this is female logic. If you're going to be giving money to the men, we want money too. And I said, no, that's not what this is. We're not handing out money. Something wrong happened and we need to compensate the men. You're not a man. You're not in that group. No, we're not going to give you money. You got the money. Women also hold 70% of all debt. They also hold 70% of all student loan debt. They are targeted to make absolutely sure that they work, make money, pay taxes. It is now a new trend on TikTok for women to actually reveal in detail personal information about debt. And did you know 7-Eleven offers a credit card? It might be certain stores. I didn't know that. Never heard of that. Anyway, they showed all of these, how much they owed on all of these store credit cards. And they do not have the income to pay off the credit cards. And this is in conjunction with, I divorced my husband. It's whole groups of women divorcing their husband. Whole groups of friends. So they all divorced their husband. You got to watch out who you marry and who her friends are. And you have to go back to completely vetting who you're marrying. You have to do background checks and everything, and lifestyle checks. Who does she hang around? What kind of lifestyle do the people she hangs around, what do they have? Entire groups of women divorcing their husband. Now, do they actually want to change policy? They want to change policy. They're making excuses that, men are not working. Men are not refusing. But they want to define work as what the bank says. We do not have this person on payroll. We don't have 80 million men on payroll. Then you get to the point of women are complaining that they don't have a suitable man to date or marry. Sweetheart, you don't control who dates you or you dating. Men control that. This is actually another feminist complaint. You want to be a man in this situation. You want men to approach you, men to date, and men to marry, right? But you want to do that on your schedule. And because of your personality, more than likely, people can detect it. I mean, you see the interview and hear the voice and be like, oh my God, I would never be around such a woman. And more than likely, because she's annoying, men won't even approach. Why? Because they can hear her. She probably carries herself like she's a football player or an assassin or something, or something crazy. The personality comes through, shining through. Men control approach, dating, marrying. When they say what's an appropriate man, they want a guy in a business suit who works in an office, who they can walk in and be like, see, I'm dating the CEO. Be jealous, girls. That's what they want. That's literally what they want. Australia had a very bad time of this. Men who worked in the mines in the north of Australia could not get a woman. Why? When you take a look at it on paper, they make hundreds of thousands of dollars. They make a lot of money. But when they went to the city and asked the women, would you date this person? I said, no, we would not date that person. We want a city boy. What if, it's kind of like in the Bible, what if he only made 100,000? Yes, I would still date the boy in the office. What if he only made $50,000, but he was a clerk in the office? Yes, I'd still date him over the minor. What if you had to pay for the guy and he's in the mail room in the office? Yes, I would still date him before I would date the minor who makes $200,000. So the idea that the man is not suitable is not actual truth. It's that the woman has a sort of fairy tale vision of who her husband was. It used to be the case that blue collar workers were the bread and butter of women everywhere. The guy comes home and he smells and he's greasy and he's dirty. Yep, sign me up. I'll wash his clothes and they'll be pristine clean in the morning when he has to go to work. Sign me up. That used to be the thing. I want you to notice that they don't put out any sort of TV shows with that sort of scenario of the woman is married to a blue collar worker and he comes home smelling and dirty and all that sort of stuff and she washes his clothes and then he goes and takes a bath and then she sets his dinner on the table and they have dinner together and he's at the head of the table and she's at the right hand. Just does not appear on anywhere anymore. You can tell me what's the closest sort of movie or TV show that has that exact scenario in it, and it's probably saying 1960. Women have a completely different scenario in their head, and I guarantee you it's coming from the media that they're consuming, that they're looking at the TV shows and and the movies that they're looking at. Why are they talking about canceling Medicaid? Medicaid is for senior citizens and actual disabled people who probably cannot work at all. It's not for 18-year-olds who are out of work. But they're saying there are 18-year-old men who are on the rolls of the Medicaid. Then you take a look at what is the behavior of the employer today. And the behavior of the employer today is they're doing exactly what I said. They get a kickback for hiring women. A black woman, oh my God, they get double kickback. Probably not, but maybe, I don't know. They get a kickback for hiring a disabled person. Have you walked into a place and there was a person in a wheelchair doing the job? Yeah, that's why. This is why you have incompetent people working at the place, and you ask them a question and they have absolutely no idea about the product whatsoever. Why? Because they hired the person based on criteria that they are going to get money for hiring that person. Not that the person makes them money. Here's a funny side note. When women took a day off and they said, we're quitting, we're going to quit for today, see how you like it. Companies made something like a 50% profit just based on that one day that women are not working in the building. In the building, men are like 10 times more efficient. And then the man working at the docks and the man working at the cashier and the man working in the stocking, all efficient. No women in the building. They made a 50% profit in one day for the quarter. Men run through the cashier part far faster than the women. Even with talking, saying, hi, Miss Clarice, how you doing? Nice to see you. All right. Boom. Women complimented the supermarkets for that day. They said it's the fastest ever, and there were lines stretching way back to the back of the store. And we were all done within 10 minutes. Unheard of. I said, I wish we had a woman's day off every day. But it would also be like back to the 1950s when women didn't work and stayed at home and basically shopped all day. There's a couple of YouTubers here who make vintage clothing and dress up in the different time period clothing. And then they give a day in the life of a woman in the 1950s, and 50% of her day is done shopping. And the same thing when she dresses up in the 1800s, sort of just 50% of her day was done shopping. This isn't new, but the feminists have painted this, if you have to clean the house, it's like slavery. What? What are you talking about? What are you doing in the house that it takes you more than an hour to clean the entire house? This is why you have the term spring cleaning, where you get down and then you're like polishing the floorboards. But for the most part, do a little vacuuming, wash the dish, and you're pretty much done. Make the beds, fold the clothes, do the laundry, fold the clothes. I mean, now you got all sorts of stuff. Everything that they did is to give you all sorts of appliances that do the work for you. You used to have to carry a basket of clothing down to the river, wash the clothes in the river by hand on the rocks, then put the clothes back in, and then go hang up the clothes, and then the next day they're dry. Now you got a washing machine. Woman talking about, I'm not going to do my husband's laundry. She was later divorced by the husband, like within days after making that video. But she's talking about throwing clothes into a washing machine. She's not doing anything. She's pressing a button on a machine. That's too much for her. Men are working. They just don't count it. The establishment doesn't like that men are doing side gigs, and they may or may not be paying taxes because they can get away with not paying a tax, especially if it's a cash transaction. There is absolutely no paper trail. I'm not trying to say it's illegal, but guess who also does that? Lawyers do that. Big time law firms do that. If there's no paper trail and no records whatsoever, and now Trump is saying that if you make tips, you don't have to declare taxes. And something else, I think Medicare, Medicaid, no taxes on that. No taxes on, I think maybe if you're a teacher or something like that. It's some other stuff that he's, And I believe they actually passed it into agency law. Maybe not Congress, but agency law. So the IRS was not going to collect taxes on you. And that's the only people who matter, right? Who cares what Congress says? And they're mad that men are not on a payroll somewhere, making money for the system. So basically, men are turning America back into America. I know this is going to sound funny. I know it's going to hit a lot of Democrats really hard, but a lot of men who are working these side gigs and these handyman stuff and like that are turning America back into what it used to be. And what's funny is women are clamoring for traditional men. Clamoring. Please, I want a traditional man. But they're not a traditional woman. Please vet these women. Thank you all for watching. Men are, in fact, working.